I ain't got no time to waste, man, I've been down for so long. It ain't nothing been the same since that day I lost my dog. Stay up on your pivot game, cause they profit off your fall. Talking to my higher self, I wanna be you after all. And I'm forever 22, because my spirit live on. I was down, but I got back, because my spirit too strong. Do this shit, no pen, no pad, why my lyrics so raw. And I was playing way too safe, I gotta get this shit my own.
What's good, y'all? Welcome to the Sovereign Podcast. I'm your host, Corey Flagler, and today I have a special episode for you guys. I have a member of my church who is a great mentor of mine, and I'll let him introduce himself, and then I have an icebreaker question for you. What's the first thought that comes to mind when you think of the word integrity?
All right. Well, good afternoon or good day. My name is Kente Dixon. I am the executive minister for Southside Church of Christ. I'm also an entrepreneur. I own a couple businesses, manage a couple businesses. Integrity, of course, that's doing the right thing, even when no one's looking. So that's kind of what I think about, of course, integrity. Do you want me to go into a little bit further about that?
Yeah, okay. Go ahead.
All right. Integrity, it's kind of one of those, I'm also a father, I'm married. So, of course, I have 4 children. I've been married for 22 years. And integrity is one of those things in the house. Trust is one thing, but when I can trust you as a child to leave my house and still do what I asked you to do, then that's the integrity that kind of we try to instill in our children at home. So integrity is really big, very important, but it's also personally very important. Not necessarily for someone else to judge you, but for you to judge yourself. And it's a value system you have to keep for yourself. Mm-hmm. Can I do the things I said I was going to do, regardless of who's watching? Very big, very important, and that's the integrity, of course, the personal integrity that I think we all should believe in, model.
Gotcha. So that was a really good answer. Actually, I agree with pretty much everything you said. I actually did a paper a few months ago about integrity. I think I chose the word integrity to put on there, and the definition I came up with, and I was researching it, and I think it was more like being honest with yourself and others, mm-hmm. At all times. And then what you said really just goes right under that, where doing the right thing or being honest with yourself and trusting others to do the right thing in situations where you're not there or you are there. I think that definitely goes hand in hand with it, and I think that integrity is a really thing that everybody really struggles with, because you're not honest with yourself 100% of the time, and you're not honest with others 100% of the time. So it's just really striving to be honest with yourself is something that I'm trying to do, and I know many others are definitely trying to do.
Yes,
so
sir.
Yeah, so we can jump right into it. So can you recall like a pivotal moment in your life that helped you like better understand your desires and preferences?
Pivotal moment. I think I have had plenty, or several major moments like that. First, I think around 15 years old, desires and preferences. Around 15, well, maybe 12. Some things happen at home. I think the home life is a great impact on definitely my decision making skills. Some things happened at home, didn't go. Of course, it was out of my control. I'm a child at the time. Yeah. So when things happen at home as a child, you can't control them. It's about how you respond to them. Sometimes you have to live within a certain context, whether you are agreeing with it or not. Things happen, major change happened to my life. So because of that, that was pivotal, of course, meaning that now I have to kind of restructure how I am, in order for me to exist, to live, to be happy. And that was around 12 years old, where now my preferences and desires are more focused on, survival. It's more focus on survival. With a survival mindset, now I'm more careful with everything I do. So that's as a 12-year-old. Then at 15, I found the Nation of Islam. My brother and sister were a part of it. My sister, more importantly, was a part of it. And because at 15 I needed mentors, mm-hmm. Well, they provided mentorship, they provided direction, from a religious kind of mindset. And so now, again, my desires and my preferences now change because they now have a religious tone to them. So now I'm more focused on my health and more focused on, my godly purpose, And then, of course, getting married now, preferences and desires change as well. So now I have to sacrifice what I've built to some degree to consider someone else, and not only just someone else, but now children come into play. So, definitely plenty of moments that have changed. And I think that's just natural, in anybody's life. But being able to recognize that these are the things that built Kente, is kind of, what I see there.
I got you. That's good. I don't know if I can. I guess I don't know if I can recall a moment because I'm still growing. So I've had things that kind of change more like the dreams that I've had, but nothing that really like changed. I guess any certain desires and not like a crazy pivotal moment that took me on a a right turn or anything like that. But so. Has there been times where you realized like what you thought you wanted wasn't aligned with your true self? How did you cope or pivot when you realized it?
Yeah. So, I thought initially, I was a whiz at math, right? So I was great. I say whiz, not like I was going to MIT or anything, but but I like math. It was easy for me in comparison to the other assignments. I didn't necessarily like to read all the time. Unless I was like no, I didn't like to read all the time. I would look at comic books where I was like, man, I want to go play, but that was being young,
Yeah.
Then in high school, fell in love with accounting. It was easy. I don't think I've ever made anything less than a 98 in high school, in accounting. College, another pivot. Man, it's not the same. It's cool, it's math when you're in high school. But in college, it's like, hey, I really need you to understand the world that you live in and how accounting plays a part, So that was one of those moments that challenged, where I thought I was going to, look, I was so good at accounting in high school, I said, I love science too. So I'm going to do a double major. Let me do a microbiology.
Okay.
That lasted for one semester as a freshman. It was over. I said, no, man, don't worry about it. There's no way I can do this with 21 hours in my freshman year to adding on, So I say, I'm gonna focus on this, But so there was different times in my life also where that changed. Of course, accounting, I ended up coming back to accounting. I did leave it for a minute. I said, I really don't want to do this because, it's really, if y'all know accounting, everybody know accounting. It's like, it's a lot of math, and it's like I got to stay in this box. And the typical accountant doesn't look like what I'm trying to imagine myself to be. However, I had to come back to that. I got out of it, did some network marketing, and that was cool. But it was about money, I thought. We maybe get into it later, but I thought network marketing was about money, but it's not, And then I had to come back to accounting, because I got back in survival mode. I got a family to feed, and network marketing can't do it, but it's not for everybody. It's kind of like the NBA. It's a lot of basketball players out here. Everybody in the neighborhood play basketball. Only 1% I'm going to the NBA. And so it was kind of like that. Finding what was for me. It is accounting. Is a part of it. It's not just accounting, but it is definitely a part of it. So that's a moment where I thought, the universe wasn't lining up, but then they said, yes, it is. You just got to get some other stuff under your belt and come back to this.
Gotcha.
So that's what I did.
Gotcha. No, that's real. And we can definitely get into network marketing. I never heard of that career before. So what is it?
Yeah, network marketing is where they used to call them pyramid schemes, right? But that's for people who kind of knock against it. The truth is, network marketing is a great opportunity. It's a profession where you're a part of it. You work a full-time job, most folks, right? And you do learn how to take your people that surround you and everybody win. Now the idea, of course, everybody win, that's going to be somebody above you that's winning. The reality is that's going to always be the case. We didn't get on this planet and like, hey, we the first ones, So somebody's always above us. Matter of fact, that's a real godly principle, I believe. When we all help each other get what we want, then we can have if we all help each other get what they want, then we can have what we want. And so that's kind of the premise behind network marketing. So I was in prepaid legal, and I was in others after that, and I did pretty good. My first month, I hit executive director in a month. Now that's I wouldn't say it's unheard of, but it's also it was a scheme to get me the executive director, which no offense, but the real way to do it, and what I want to really get from network marketing is the becoming the person. Becoming a person through network marketing is really what network marketing is. Money is a side effect. It's who you become that's really the person. I was exposed to motivational speakers in network marketing, and that's really who runs a network marketing campaign. The idea is that you continue to encourage somebody to push through whatever is in front of them. And that's really what network marketing is. So you, as an individual, learn how to push yourself through whatever comes, and then you teach others on your team to do the same thing. That the side effect is money. So that's what I got from network marketing. Prepaid legal was great, but again, that wasn't my path. Again, another one of those points where I just had to move on from that. That's not for me.
Gotcha. Yeah, no, I can definitely agree. Not too long ago, I've made a huge decision to really. I told myself it was going to affect the next like 5 years of my life. And like going through high school and football, NFL was my own thing. It's like, I know I'm going to play for football in NFL. I know I want to play for this team. And then I just felt, in my heart that this didn't feel right. I think I fell out of love with the game. Then COVID came and was like, push the season all the way to the back. Yeah. And I remember I still played, but I didn't have the same drive for it anymore. And mind you, I didn't necessarily stop playing. I didn't like quit in the middle of the season or anything. I just realized that I wasn't going to go out and go 5 a.m. to get better. I wasn't going to go in late after practice, stay, later on or whatever and do some extra work. Like that wasn't going to be me. Mm-hmm. So I felt that, what I was doing wasn't where I needed to be. Mm-hmm. So then, going to school, I was in, astronomy. You was like, you know what? I think astronomy is where I want to be. I started taking some science and math classes, and that second biology was just, I couldn't do it. Yeah. I ended up failing the class, and I'm like, I thought this was easy, and it wasn't. Mind you, I did take it online, so that could have been a factor. But still, even then, I should have at least gotten a C in the class. I should have at least passed the class. I didn't. My second math class, same way. I'm doing trigonometry, and I'm looking like, what is he talking about? I have no idea. I was just struggling. I was sitting down in class this time, in person, and I was like, it's not clicking for me. It's not feeling right. I know I feel like I need to be somewhere else. And then now, with Greg Hill and working with him and being behind the camera, it felt like I didn't know that I needed, I wanted to be here, and I knew that I kind of had some type of, a feeling for like being able to tell stories. I know I wanted to tell stories somehow, but I didn't know this was the way I was going to do it. Right. And now here I am, and it feels like I'm in the right spot. It feels like, I'm actually starting to develop a love for what I'm doing. And I feel like not all the time people, have a passion and also get to work in that passion, right, and it be, the same aligned way. Because I still love space, I still love it, and that's probably not going to change.
If I may, and that's great, and I don't think you should. I think you should still stay there for it. The reality is that sometimes we think that the certain level of effort that we provide is enough, and it should warrant us some type of, acceptance. Right. I did X, Y, and Z. Can we throw our hands up? I did X, Y, Z, did the things that you asked. But the idea of a PhD, that is a place where, which I don't have a PhD, I don't have a master's, I just have my, undergrad degree, Bachelor of Science. But the idea is that for a PhD, you have to be challenged on your beliefs. Yeah. You're gonna write it all up. This is a thesis. I'm telling you what I believe. I'm supporting it with all my evidence. And now people in that profession are going to ask you questions and say, do you really believe it? Well, what about this? And what about this? And what about this? If you successfully defend it, then you become a PhD, right? Yeah. Now, that's the ultimate freedom in what in space for you, That's the ultimate freedom. It says that I know what I know, what I know. You understand? I'm digging deeper into it. I really want to make sure that because it's all consuming. There's different levels. Bachelor is, they just telling you got ran off at the bachelor level. I'm not really, I think I'm about space, but I ain't really all that. No offense, if your listeners are listening, I don't want to bash you, but the idea is to encourage anyone, if you're challenged at these levels, that's good. Yeah. It's just an intro level or just an area, because it could be PhD. You just need to be challenged. Yeah. It requires you to dig deeper, to really give yourself to it, Sometimes life is like that. I think many people make decisions because they get to that point and challenge is too much. Don't give up. Push through it, give into it, because that's what it requires.
That's real. And I feel like me and my sister, even my dad, have been talking about that not too long ago. Just like, how do you know when something is for you? And it's kind of something that's kind of hard to. It's like, well, if I keep doing this and I'm doing it and it's not clicking or I'm not getting a job, do I keep going or am I supposed to be somewhere else? And I think it's just kind of funny. And I don't know, put my sister on the spot, but it was like she was in a situation where she was like, I did this, and now something happened where I'm no longer in that field. I can't be in that field no more. So do I try to go back, or do I do something else? And in my head, I'm like, well, how do you know, what's God's plan? What does He really have, for you, set for you? How do you know?
Great
and
question.
I feel like, it's, you're not going to know, but I feel like if you're in something, you feel like, you should try it. Then I feel like you put your all. Now at that point, during those results, if say you put your all and you get the job or you get where you want to be, boom, that might be for you. But otherwise, I feel like you're going to be pushed to where you're supposed to be, subtly or forcibly. Right. You're going to be pushed where you're supposed to be. Like something's going to happen to where you're going to be pushed that way. So, like what you said, like I would say, obviously, we want to make sure that you get that challenge. Don't just be, oh, I'm done with the challenge. Like, see, can you, succeed in this challenge? And if you do, boom, great. But if you feel like maybe you succeed and then you're like, oh, I don't know, like I feel like you're going to feel something inside you where it's going to like kind of push you somewhere, in a different area that you feel like you're supposed to be, if that makes sense.
Agreed.
Yeah. So, kind of wrapping it up here, not necessarily, but what practices or exercise do you engage in to help like your self-awareness and clarify like what you want, or desire, whichever word.
So usually around my birthday, I kind of like reassess, where am I? Who am I? Where am I? Usually, if I don't do a sit down, real deep kind of thought provoking, write it on the wall, all that kind of stuff, I don't do that all the time, right? This past year, we actually, as a family, sat down because, I would say for 20 years or so, I kind of like been living off of my successes, for the last 20 years or so, kind of living off my successes, meaning that, what I experienced from 12 to 15 to 18 was enough to produce the guy that you see in front of you. But it won't be enough to produce the guy that I need to be next, And so for the last 20 years or so, I've been just kind of living off of that, and I don't want to do that anymore. So we had sat down as a family, did vision boarding, which is a thing usually I say guys don't really do. They do it, but it's not a thing that's promoted. Women got mimosas and vision boards and Saturdays and Pilates and vision boards. It's like, they're making such a big thing, and it should be. Because really, at what point is what you want not a big thing? It should always be a big thing. The problem is that we usually, I think, live off of our past successes. If it were for you, you could ride the high school football thing forever, small town. Small town, you could, man, he was a state champion, or whatever. Not saying that that's what you were, but, but the idea is, and some people do that. Some people live like that. But the thing that's great for me is that 85% of the people, I love numbers, 85% of the people don't really, they're not motivated. They don't, in certain areas, right? Everybody's a king in a certain area, right? But other areas, we're not. Okay, you're not interested in improving in certain areas. You kind of think about it in your own life. What am I not really interested in? Well, but to be great at something is important, right? So even those folks that I'm a king, I'm not exercising my kingship. I'm not doing the things that I should be doing to really take it to the next level. Gotcha. But with that number, 85%, that means there's 15% of the people who are doing the thing that they were created to do. They're guiding and leading other folks. And that's really where the energy is, so we should all be kind of driven to do that, to be in that place. So to kind of get back to, I'm trying to remember exactly your question. Can you?
It's just like what exercises or practices do you engage in?
So to keep that motivation and keep locked in to stay in the 15%, I reevaluate me, where am I? And you have to be honest. We started this thing off with integrity. You know, being honest about who I am and where I am and where I'm trying to go. Those three pieces keep me in line. You know, past, present, and future tense is what you should be. Who am I? You know, and who I was is cool. I can stand on that. You know, if there was any cracks or flaws in that foundation, I need to improve on those things before I, you know, as I be who I am and as I prepare for the guy that I'm trying to be. You know, so that reevaluation, you know, journaling, reading. Oh man, reading is, because reading now exposes you to everybody else's thoughts. You know, people who are successful. I did this, you know, again, prepaid legal. I go back to that because that was the self-awareness. You know, that was the self-improvement part of my life. And it's funny because I kind of glossed over it when it was happening. You know, but I came back to it. This young guy, well, he's older than I am, but you know, he's not 70 or not, you know, 80. No offense, 90. He's not 90. For all of my friends, I got all kind of ages. You know, that's another thing. I've always had ages. I was always talking to older people. You know, always good relationships with older people. Wisdom. You know, but he's a millionaire, multimillionaire, and he said, you know, he created a new thing where he wants everybody to subscribe to him, and he can be your personal coach. You know, and that's great. You know, the idea of that. And listen, and I went through and listened to it. You know, listen to his sales pitch, which is, you know, you being honest. It's really not a sales pitch. But at the same time, being honest, it's a sales pitch. Yeah. You know, I want you to pay me to be your coach. You know, so I can push you and drive you in all these other areas. You know, but everything that he said, I've already heard. The application is the only thing. That is the gap. You've heard enough stuff in your life to be able to improve your life right now, in a moment, right? Yeah. If I do this one thing, I've been nagging, it's been nagging at me, I just keep overlooking it in one moment. You know, but that's what his whole, everything he said. I listened to all his videos that were free. And I said, you know what, I'm not doing that. I got all these books on my shelf. I can listen to Jim Rohn. I don't know if you ever heard Jim Rohn. He's a motivational speaker. He was in, was a health food company back in the day, but he was really the motivator for the health food company, Herbalife. It's an old company. Another network marketing company. Again, these motivators are in these places because they motivate masses of people to go and do the little things, and then it trickles up. You know, that's why they call it the scheme. But hey, you can be the motivator at the top, you know, and be in the line. But anyway, so you know, listening to him and reading his books, and then of course the other thing is you can't forget who you are. So you have to read books about you. Well, I'm an African American man. You know, so I need to read books about African American men, for African American men, for African Americans in general. So I also read books by Dr. Jawanza Kunjufu, you know, and he talks about how to raise black boys, you know, which is important, you know, I have several hats at Southside, but as a executive minister, as a leader for the church, you know, and one of the founders, so to speak, of our Boys and Men program, you know, I'm definitely focused on our children, our youth, but of course specifically our boys. So I read things that's going to help me, you know, cater to us, you know, because we need catering to. We live in a world where it's all about money, you know, but money should not ever shape your mind. If money shapes your mind, then it's all about money. But if your mind is shaped by people who care, then now you care for yourself and you care for what you spend your money with, you know, or on rather. Also Dr. Naeem Akbar, you know, another great book. We read that as Boys to Men. We kind of read that book, okay? I read the book, and we as leaders read the book, but you know, we were trying to introduce the book to our young boys because it talks about how to be, what a male is, what a boy is, and what a man is, you know. But these books, again, continue to shape your thinking, and there's many others, many authors, you know. These authors point to other authors, you know, and the idea here is reading these books help you. You know, these are PhDs sometimes. Well, both of those guys are both PhDs, which means they took their love for and passion for the things they love, and they vetted it, they tested it, they tried it, and then they let it be presented. You know, now you come and test it. You know, and I think it says study to show thyself approved in the Bible. You know, where that is the idea. God is putting us in this place with a certain purpose. He's our creator. He created us for a purpose, right? Now, I don't think that purpose is locked into an accountant, right? Or, you know, space or anything, right? It's not locked into that, right? But these are also things that come with us. We have a gift and a love and a passion for, and they should be enhanced. They should be nurtured also. but primarily he has a purpose for us to use these gifts, the things that we love, to bring more souls to Christ, to create an environment where our children can grow up healthy, happy and healthy, and continue to reproduce. It's the same principles in the beginning, but what are we reproducing? So I read these books to help me keep my mind right so that my reproduction is more positive black males, more positive young men and young people, because that's really what's going to secure my future and my legacy. Yeah. Who around me or who is around me and how they think is important. So being a part of that, shaping the society, is where that goes. So anyway, I said a lot of stuff.
You did say a lot. It was a lot of good. It was a lot of good stuff in there. I'm trying to kind of pull, some stuff to kind of respond to. But it was one part you said like, who am I? And a lot of people always ask, and they say like, I don't know who I am yet. Do you think you've reached a point to where if somebody asks, who are you able to answer that question?
Let's see. Yes. Let me say it this way. The reality is who we are is, one of our brothers from church said, Joe Williams, he's a psychologist, clinical psychologist, and he says, of course, the dash that's on our tombstone is, it is the true definition of who we are, right? It's what we've done in life, But who we are is always constantly changing, Most times, so again, numbers, math is my thing, right? The earth is round. Mm-hmm. The sun is round. The universe we live in, the idea of it is round. The idea of that means that, we're going to face all kind of things all the time, right? So we live in a world that revolves, okay? So you are a product of wherever you come from, okay? So if this is the way the Creator created the universe, then it's going to be a part of you, right? The way it operates is the way you operate. Understanding God and understanding who you are in relationship to that is important because it helps you understand you. Yeah. The Creator created you in a certain way. You got to understand, well, what were you thinking? All right? And sometimes, churchy folks get to the point where you can't understand God. The whole point is to understand God to the point where I can understand me. So let's not be too spooky about it, But because it revolves, we think that, it's just a circle. But a sphere is not just a circle. The earth is not just a circle. It's full of all types of depth and it's all kinds of different things. Yeah. So we are the same way. It's all kind of stuff going on in us, But life is also, now you put that circle in time and then it has some distance on it. So where you were at 2 is not the same where you were at 12. It's not the same. You're not the same person there at 22. 20. I gave you too much. But but you also live, and I used to tell this our classes. It's a cycle, but it's also it's more like a spiral. I'm going to come back to the same issues I had when I was 2. Yeah. But how I respond to them is going to be different because I got time. Mm-hmm. All right, and that's how it should be. Now, if you find yourself spinning, you've seen that. People riding in cars, you just sitting, hit the gas real fast. It's cool, but you ain't going where? Nowhere. Exactly. So life is about taking that and moving forward. What am I doing differently? How am I changing? How am I growing? So because you're always supposed to be, evolving into another person. So. I hope I answered what you asked.
But no, you did answer that question. Pretty much what I got from it was that you can't really say, who you are, at a certain point. Now, at that point in time, this is who I am. But shoot, the next day you might be somebody different, or the next years you're constantly evolving. So you can't never really say or get to a point where say, this is who I am and this is cemented who I am, and boom. Right. Now, of course you're gonna have some base principles and morals and values that you have that say that based upon this foundation, who I am is built on this, but that's the rest of everything else is changing. What we see on the outside, what what everybody else sees, the image that you portray is definitely changing. So,
and I think too, before you say whatever next, be okay with that. Be okay with the fact that I'm not finished. Be okay with that. Be okay with presenting that guy or that girl, that woman, that man. I'm not finished. That's not used as an excuse. You got to be working towards something. You got to, if you don't know what you want to work towards, start there. you know. But as you're on the path, and this, people get caught up, you know, you don't ask me and then ask me for finite, you know, for, hey, this is the answer. Nah, this is the answer today. You know, be okay with that. And then if they're not okay with that, it's cool too. I gotta be me, you know. We get caught up in people sometimes, you know. So that development is important. You gotta be okay with who you are right now. Be okay with the person that you're trying to become. If you don't know, if you don't have anything that you're striving towards, you need to get that. Because there's nothing better than waking up in the morning knowing that you got somewhere to go, somewhere to be. You're trying to do a thing, you're trying to be a thing, you're trying to create. There's nothing like waking up like that. You know, again, 85% don't.
Right.
You know, so be the 15. You know, now there's more knowledge in that 15. We won't get into that today, you know, but be like the 15 in the sense I have a mission and a purpose. At least I'm focused, I'm working, I'm waking up on purpose. You know, let that be your relationship with God, of course. Let that be your purpose that the Creator created you with. You know, that helps you manage your 15%, and you won't rule wickedly over the 85. You know, but you'll be encouraging to all those in your space.
Yeah. No, that's real right. That's deep. I like that. That was really good. And this would be last question. Might have to throw another one on there. But how do you prioritize your wants and needs when they maybe conflict with the expectations of others?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I am as a father, husband, son. I'm challenged with that quite a bit. My mom stays with us now, so you know my wants and needs. Man, I can wake up, I'm ready. I got this whole thing I'm gonna do, and then I need to go somewhere. We had a moment where, of course, my mama had to go to the doctor. I can't tell you I want to go to the doctor. My mom never says stuff like that. So you know, we changed my whole world to go make that happen. Now it might seem like nothing to some people, you know, but with all the hats I wear, it's a pretty big deal when I got to go do something else. You know, if I don't look at it right, you know, then I'm mistreating my moments, my time, you know. But yeah, so I'm challenged with it as a father and a husband and a son all the time. You know, my sons need certain things. I got to go and got to change things, you know. So, you know, I have to sacrifice, and I think that's part of this whole mix. We're talking about integrity. Sacrifice is another word to include. You have to sacrifice sometimes, and again, it's just sometimes, right? You have to delay gratification. You have to delay what it is you have planned sometimes. Okay, but you have to stay focused. You know, the devil's trick is to delay it forever. You know, the God's solution to that is I'm delaying it for a time. Okay, but you got to be in control and come back to the center, come back to the inclination towards Him, come back to trying to get it done. But yeah, you know, in this world we didn't create ourselves. We didn't pop up one day and say I'm here. You know, we came from somewhere, so we have to pay homage to where we came from. And then, of course, we create things, you know. Behind you is a trail of your successes and failures. You created all of them. How you manage your successes and failures that are behind you is important. So you can't just let it all go and say, forget about it. I never, you know, whatever. I'm a new guy today, you know. It requires you still. Those things will come back. Again, in your spirit, your, what did I call it? It's a cycle, but it's also a, whatever it's called. Yeah, it's through time. You know, you're going to come back to it again. Bottom line is, of course, how you manage it when you come back to it should show growth. You know? So, yeah, when I have to manage my, you know, other people's expectations of me all the time, you know, as a minister or executive minister, a lot of expectations, you know. People think that I handle everything well. I juggle quite a bit, you know. Not saying I do it well, because I don't believe I do it well. You know, there's more improvement there necessary. You know, but at the end of the day, I get kudos for making it happen, and that's cool. But I sacrifice.
Gotcha. That's real. And I'll say and ask one last question. Real quick answer. I would say, what is one, I guess, piece of advice you would give to people around my age? I would say like the 18 to 23, 24 range. That, you know, they're out trying to find themselves, or they're either in school, they're working, or whatever. What advice would you give them on, I guess, along their journey? You know, when it comes to, you know, being honest with themselves, you know, having integrity.
Yeah, what I see, and to answer your question, the advice I give, you know, what I see right now is several different things going on at the same time. But for our young people, it is an optional life, meaning I can opt out. You know, the way that we've created this environment gives us the options to say, well, you know what, today I don't want to work. So you go to Wendy's and they not working. But it's in the age group, you know, typically what it would have been, young people working in these places. Now it's an older person working in that place, you know, which also says there's 5 generations in the workforce at the same time, which doesn't generally happen because they retired or died, you know, but they out here, I need to get my money because I didn't retire well, you know. So it's a different environment. So for young folks right now, you know, I know the young people say lock in. It's a time to lock in. It's a time to say that I know I have lots of options, but I need to choose, you know, and I need to choose something that's better than, you know, I need to choose something that is not necessarily all about the fun, you know. I know everybody want to do their thing, you know. I want to be you know, an artist. You know, Facebook created this way, you know, everybody's a digital creator, and that's great. You know, I talked with a young lady, one of my clients this morning, and all of her, you know, also it's a few of her friends that are trying to get her to do this scam. You know, and let me back up. It looks like it's just tax related, you know, you do your taxes and stuff. But it's asking her to do all kinds of, well, the thing that's asking is none of it's legal. Oh, you know, lock in, relax, okay? Let me be good at something real, okay? Let me figure that out. Find one thing real, okay? Make sure that you balance it with not just your own independent self. Again, this is the millennial and beyond issue that I believe. You know, I'm not tied to anything. You are. You've always been. Tie yourself back to your history, where you came from. Whatever you're getting ready to lock in and do, make sure it has a historical presence. I have to help something based upon somebody who came before me. Whatever I'm doing, I can't leave that behind. I got to know myself and make sure that I'm locked in with something that's going to benefit someone other than myself. And then my future, of course, is my legacy. So lock in, think about your past, and focus on your legacy. What do I want to leave behind? What do I want to say that says I was here? You know, Beyonce had a song that says I was here. Love that song, you know. But I think it really gives the emotion behind, you know, that statement. I want to make sure that as my ancestors, I don't want to be the slave, you know, and everything. These cycles, again, I say, repeat themselves. You can become a slave again. It won't look the same, and you won't even know it, okay? You know, but let me look at what they did. They sacrificed themselves so that I could be here to do what? If what you're doing right now makes you question what you're doing right now, like, yo, this is not worthy of all that sacrifice, then change. You know, let me lock in. Let me think about that so that my legacy will be just as strong as what they did. They sacrificed to produce something greater for my children and their children to come.
Gotcha.
Okay.
Perfect. That's amazing advice. I definitely needed that, and I hope you guys took something from that as well. And I appreciate you coming on. You know, it really enlightened me, you know, through this conversation. You know, when it comes to integrity and being honest with myself and being honest, you know, about myself with others and be honest with others. So I appreciate you coming on the show. Is there anything else you want to say?
Just want to say thank you for having me. Success to you, and I'm always here.
All right. Thank you so much.
Yes,
I hope you guys took something from this conversation, and I'll see y'all next time. Peace.